In this video, I am going to show you how to do a gathered skirt on the quarter scale dress form. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to measure the dress form, and these are the three things that we need to measure to do the gathered skirt. So the first thing is our waist. So I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to go around the twill tape there and record my measurements. So it's 13.5. So I'm going to write 13.5 inches. And then my waist, or I'm sorry, my hips is the biggest part where your butt sticks out the most. And we're going to measure that. And that's going to be 18 inches. So I'm going to record 18 inches here. And then the length is how long do we want the skirt to be. So I'm going to measure at the bottom of the twill tape and go to the tabletop here. And I'm going to do 18 inches there. And record 18 inches there. Now, the next step is we have to calculate the fabric cuts. So we need three cuts of fabric. We'll need a front, which is this piece here, from this side seam to this side seam. And then the next cut is the right center back, which is the center back here to this piece to this side seam, and then center back to this side seam. And then we have the length. So how do you calculate that? So the front is this piece right here, this front piece here, just from the side seam to side seam. Our hips are 18 inches. We got that from up here. We have to divide that in half because we're going to basically split two different cuts, but we're going to end up making 3 cuts. If that makes sense. It'll make sense in a minute. So we have 18 divided by 2 is 9 inches. So this will be the front and the back. So we're going to take that 9 inches times 3 equals 27. The 3 is the fullness. That's how big we want the piece of fabric so that we can gather it and make the skirt really full. So we're going to use the number of 3. Then you're going to take 27 plus 1 inch, which is our seam allowance, is 28. So this one measurement here is going to be important. And so the front is going to be 28 inches by the length. Well, I have to get to that. I haven't got to that yet. Okay, so then now so that covers this part right here. Now we're going to look at the center back to the left, or I'm sorry, the right center back seam or cut. So that's going to be, we're going to take 9 because it's half there, divided by 2, which is 4.5. So from here to here is 4.5. So we're going to take 4.5 inches times 3, which is the fullness, which gets us 20.25 inches. Then we're going to take 20.25 inches plus 1 inch, which is our seam allowance, which our next cut is going to be 21.25. So we're going to put 21.25. And then you'll repeat the same process for the left center back, which is 20.25. Now let's look at the length. The length that we said from the bottom of the twill tape to the top of the table is 18 inches. So we need to add 1 inch for seam allowances plus 1 inch for a rolled hem. So we can finish off that raw edge on the bottom. That's a total of 20 inches. So now our front piece is going to be 28 inches by 20 inches, 21.25 by 20 inches, 21.25 by 20 inches. So those are our cuts that we're going to do. So here's my layout. The layout is selvage, which is the finished edge of the fabric. So here, now I'm going to measure off 20 inches from the selvage here. So I'm going to take my tape measure and measure 20 inches and then make a cut at 20 inches. And then I'm going to rip that off. All right, so now I've got, this is 20 inches. So if you look at the diagram, I'm working with this panel right here. So now what I'm going to do is measure 28 inches because that's going to be the front piece. So I'm going to go 28 inches from here. And then make a cut there. And then rip that off. So what I would do, just so that you don't get your pieces all mixed up, is I'd put a little F here on the selvage, just to let you know that that's the front piece. And then put that aside. And then now this one is going to be 21¼ inches. Hopefully I calculated correctly. I'm off by just a quarter of an inch, but that's okay because it's going to get gathered anyway. So it should have been 1/4 inch, but I'm off a 1/4 inch there. So I'm going to put this as right center back. Okay, so that's going to be right center back. All right, so that's this is this piece right here. And then the next one is going to be, I'm going to cut the next one. So here's my selvage. And I'm going to measure off 20 inches. Now I'm going to go from the selvage here to 20 inches and make a cut and rip there. And then now I can do 21¼ inches. So this one I could do 21¼ It's all right. That little 1/4 inch is not gonna make a big difference here. So 21¼ and then rip that. And then I'm going to also put left LT center back so you know which piece is that. Okay, and that's how you cut your fabric.